Welcome, Four Cs. Welcome to the patio. We're outside the fellowship hall, and I'm taping this PSA, this public service announcement, so that you can watch it in your leisure. And so if I'm coming to you today and kind of squinting, it's only because it's a big, beautiful day outside, and I hope you're, sitting on your deck and enjoying the day. But I have some important things I want to chit chat with you about and an idea to share with you. A couple things coming up. First thing foremost, this Sunday is our Youth Sunday. And what that means is the youth are taking over the worship service from music to testimony to prayer. It's an opportunity for us to celebrate our confirmation graduates, our seniors in high school, and to hear from them what God has been doing in their lives. And so this Sunday, you don't want to miss that. You really do want to check out our Youth Sunday online service this week. So that's one thing that's on my mind. Another thing that's on my mind is to celebrate how well we all did in our most recent walk for World Vision, or in partnership with World Vision, in an effort to raise money for clean water for people around the world that don't have clean water. And we were able to hit our mark. We raised a little bit more than $5,000. And so that means that over 100 people will have water for life, clean water for life, close by and healthy. So I think that's something to celebrate. Now, in line with that, World Vision is hosting a half marathon. We actually did this last year. A half marathon in October. We begin training in June. And again, we are bringing awareness to the fact that much of the world doesn't have clean water. And there's an opportunity for us to kind of get out of our COVID funk and the paralysis that maybe it has happened. And you've said to yourself, I really need a goal. I need something to get me up out of my chair and moving. This half marathon might be it. 13 and a half miles, maybe that sounds like a long way to you, but it's over, in 3 or 4 hours. So it shouldn't be a problem. And the last thing I wanted to chit-chat through with you was that we're going to do a Facebook Live again on Sunday morning. So you and I can have a little conversation on Sunday. So what that means is you'll go to your Facebook page and type in Christ Community Covenant Church at the top. Pretty quick, as you start typing that in, you'll see the Christ Community Covenant Church Facebook page in that search engine, and you can just tap on that and join us. We'll have a comment bar so that you can write some things in, ask me a question that throws me off, and that'd be fun. So that's going to happen between services. So imagine on Sunday morning how we regularly do things on Sunday morning between 10 and 10:30. We're going to have that Facebook Live time. So you can join in at any time in there and, just kind of bust my chops a little bit. It should be fun. So those three things. Youth Sunday, this Sunday, half marathon coming up in October, Facebook Live coming up right now. And by the way, you might have noticed that we have a virus that has kind of gotten in the way of our lifestyle. And in fact, people have been commenting on it. President Trump commented on the virus this week. And one of the things he expressed was his hope for the church to open up. In fact, he said things like, I want the church to open up this weekend, and stated his desires to see governors and local government agencies to kind of buy in to that hope. Well, I wanted to comment on that because there's a lot of opinion out there. You might be surprised to hear that about when and how churches should start reopening. So I want to kind of unpack some of that for you because I think some questions are starting to set in. President Trump this last week declared all churches across the nation to be essential business, essential services. Our governor, Governor Polis, declared his essential services back in March. And so we've been able to continue to operate and to do services, to do ministry, such as essential services are allowed. So for instance, when it began to tighten up, we went from 25 people in a meeting to 10 to most recently only 2 or 3 people in a room, even if you were an essential service. Well, that's begin to open up. Essential services now can have as many as 10 people in a room, again, if we are doing the other things that are necessary to help contain a virus, like wearing a mask and practicing social distancing. So we are currently operating and have been as an essential business for 2 months. So I'm grateful for that. Currently, we continue to operate under that same mandate, no more than 10 people in a room wearing masks, social distancing. So we're not ready to open up as a church quite yet here locally in Colorado. We're going to be taking a phone call from the governor as he speaks to churches on Thursday. And so things may even change at that point. But I wanted to share a couple things with you about how our heart is when it goes to opening up and how do we manage all these different perspectives and opinions and priorities that may be out there. Let me share with them a few things. One of our value sets is that we want to open up our church as soon as possible, as it makes sense, to begin enjoying corporate worship, the equipping of the saints, and doing all the great things that happen when we gather. We want to do that as soon as the Spirit leads. High value for us. Second high value is that we also want to assure the safety of our congregants. We think that's really, really important. And so we would not be expecting or advocating that someone in a high-risk population, someone with diabetes, someone with other complicated health issues, that you would buy into this idea of coming to church with these issues in the background of your life. And so that's important to us. It also might be that you've started to feel symptoms. And so if that's the case, we don't want you coming to church. If you got a fever or a cough or respiratory issues, you need to do what you must do in order to protect yourself and those you love and get healthy. So those are some of the high values. We want to open up as quick as we can, and we want to do it as safely as we can. So going back to this idea of lots of people and lots of different perspectives and different attitudes, sometimes I feel like there isn't a great path forward that's a win-win. I kind of feel like anything that we do on a leadership level, somebody's going to kind of take issue with. Frankly, we don't really care about that. Not that your opinions don't matter. In fact, we're going to send out a survey asking your opinions so that we can find out what your thinking is as a member of our church family as to how and when you want to engage back again in church. So your opinions are important. But an even higher value set for us is, what does God want for us to do? We're interested in doing exactly what Christ has asked us to do as a church, not a penny more, not a penny less. That's how we want to move forward. So your opinions are important, but we follow the directions of Jesus Christ. He has some words to say to us about listening to authorities. And so for us, listening to the authorities over our life, Governor Paulus, Jefferson County, those are important to us. Peter says this. He says in chapter 2 of his first letter, "Be subject for the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether it be to the emperor as supreme," we don't have an emperor, but we have a president, "or to governors as sent by him to punish those who do evil and praise those who do good. For this is the will of God." Have you been wondering what the will of God is? Here it is in this sentence. "For this is the will of God, that by doing good, you should put to silence the ignorance of foolish people." And by foolish people, I don't think he means this in a harsh manner. I think he's simply saying some have not been enlightened by the light of Jesus Christ, and they see things through lenses dimly. And so what he's saying is, by our good deeds, by our submissive attitudes towards authorities, we can win people over. Live as people who are free, not using your freedom as a cover up for evil. I've heard people talk about their rights, and they're not going to give up their rights. You know what? Christ gave up his rights, and I'm willing to follow in his footsteps, that if you want me to live submissively to authorities, I'm willing to do that, as long as you're not asking me to break the commands of God. Living as servants of God. Honor everyone, love the brotherhood, fear God, honor the emperor. Those seem like good COVID advice to me. It makes sense in this century just as it did in the 21st century. We can live rightly and we can live winsomely to our world around us. So that's what we're intending to do as a church. I started to say that the Governor, Paulus, has been having a regular weekly phone call with churches. And so this is a fluid thing. I'm telling you, we won't be open this Sunday. But I can't tell you exactly when we might be opening. I know you'd like to have a definitive answer, but I can't give that to you. We're still waiting to see how things might open up. So your prayers, please. All right. All of that to kind of keep you up to speed on what we're doing. But I want to leave you with one more thought. In the month of June, just a week or so away, we're going to start a series on Exodus. So that would be great if you wanted to start reading forward. Maybe you remember from Sunday school back when you were a kid that a portion of the Exodus story had to do with plagues. Remember those 10 plagues that came upon the nation of Egypt? And they were used by God to create deliverance and salvation for the nation of Israel that was incubating there in Egypt for so long. And they had these plagues. God turned water into blood. There were frogs and lice and flies. There was a pestilence that attacked their livestock. There were boils and hail and locusts and darkness, and ultimately the death of the firstborn children. So I find it interesting in a world that's infected by pestilence. That's what this phenomena would be called in Old Testament language. It's a pestilence. And apparently it's not about the plagues in Exodus. It's about God. It's about what God is doing using those plagues for His purposes. It's never about the plague. It's always about God. So it gives us a chance to reorient our thinking and our attitudes by remembering that, because right here and right now, it's not about the COVID virus. It's about God. He uses the broken places of our world to show His redemptive power and His love over those broken places. And so we're going to live into that. We're going to recognize that this plague is no fun and that God is able to triumph over it. So as we open up, we're going to consider how we can be agents of peace, and we can be agents of healing and agents of truth and calm to other people who might come to church and feel anxious. So we got a lot to look forward to, but I want you to remember this virus does not define us, not by a long shot. We're defined by our Savior, Jesus Christ. Keep that in mind. Peace.